or two groups are in charge of building two different buildings.
Yeah.
The winner, Amazon moves in.
The loser demolished.
Oh man. Hang on. Well, welcome back to this episode of Hang On with Nick and Blake. Now that's a good idea. Finally, we get to the heart of it.
Boom shakalaka.
Yeah.
Boom bam bam clickety clack. We're good. All right, moving on.
Oh man, that's all I had.
What? How is that all you had?
The game show.
Yeah. What's your stupid game show idea?
Hang on, calling it stupid. So the game show idea involves people voting from home on what they think the answer is, and on the following episode they reveal it. So you have two groups of people, 5 guys and 5 girls, and you break them up into 2 separate groups, and you observe them doing something. For the guys, I imagine sitting around and talking with a topic, and the girls playing charades. Based on watching them, you have to determine who's a couple.
That's every episode?
That's the episode. So the major...
That's every episode.
Yes. So what they do changes to give the show variety.
But it's always who's the couple.
Who's the couple. Now, you put a couple stingers in there, like, oh, these two are single, or maybe not everybody's heterosexual. So it was actually these 2 guys and these 2 girls are a couple, or like these 2 were single.
Why don't we just... Which show is The Bachelor and Bachelorette on? Is that ABC?
Yeah.
Why don't...
NBC or one of them. One of the BCs.
It's not CBS, is it?
No.
Either way, we should just pitch to whichever one's not those.
Yeah.
Just the homosexual version of The Bachelor and Bachelorette. Okay.
For your $1 million idea. No.
That's a great idea.
I would watch it.
I mean, I'm surprised that it doesn't already exist.
So I don't know why they haven't had an episode where halfway through The Bachelorette or The Bachelor, they're just like, you know what, I'm gay. And they're just like, we can accommodate you. And they throw everyone out and they just bring in the other people.
Yeah.
And how would you not be like, well, I never watched Bachelor Bachelorette, but that's a pretty big swing. Now I got to watch.
Yeah.
Right?
I went off the air because he's now the president, but I really liked
The Apprentice.
The Apprentice. I thought that was a cool concept for a show.
Yeah, well, we're business idea oriented.
Yeah.
And putting people through their paces, having challenges that are unique. We're not watching people exert themselves physically or very specifically mentally with Jeopardy. It's somewhere in the middle where they get to be more creative.
I kind of wish that we could come up with a show that was in between Shark Tank and The Apprentice. The Apprentice...
So our podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, the challenge is you have to come up with a business idea, and you're given initial conditions.
No, what I would like to see is, in The Apprentice, they would go and do stuff like set up. They'd have to go work in a fast food, restaurant, or they'd have to go set up some marketing thing, or I don't know, just different stuff. What I would like to see is maybe teams or families or couples, people who are we have a business idea, or we are good with business, and we the 3 of us could be a team, whatever. They go, you get some amount of money or a storefront or whatever, but it's a little bit more ambiguous than the Apprentice was. It's just kind of hey, you get this much money and this product to sell. You can do it any way you want to, go for it. Or you have to come up with a product to sell at the storefront. Like I said, just a little bit more ambiguous. And then whoever wins gets some sort of initial loan for their business.
So I like the idea of pitting people against each other, groups of people. I'm tempted to do something where there's tons of restaurant shows. People love restaurants. I want to open 2 restaurants right next to each other, give them a little bit of startup capital, the exact same for both. They're in the same location, and say, you can do whatever restaurant you want, just do better than the one next to you.
Yeah, I like that. And then maybe the next episode it's a clothing store. Or
yes.
The next episode it's a insert.
Like a car wash. Like, how can you get people, like the Starbucks across from a Starbucks, 2 coffee places across the street from each other. Like, which one wins?
Yeah.
Now, it's a very long-running TV show.
Yeah, so instead of just each episode being, maybe it's like a season thing. You know, like the coffee shop versus coffee shop.
Maybe that's
is one season.
Maybe you have hour-long episodes, but there's like 4 or 5 businesses, and you check in on each one each week.
Yeah. So like, I could even see like more of like a 30-minute episode or an hour-long episode, and only maybe 4 or 5 episodes, but it being
like each season is one.
Yeah, each season is the restaurant versus restaurant, or each season is the
totally watch restaurant versus restaurant.
Yeah, or coffee shop versus coffee shop.
Bar Rescue is one of my favorite TV shows.
I think that could be really, really cool.
Yeah,
and get people who like teams. Don't get people who are trying to open a restaurant. Get people who are trying to do something else, but you are testing them on this.
Yeah. People that have that entrepreneurial spark that they don't know what exactly they want to do. Because if you have restaurant people, they have a vision for a restaurant already. Yeah. And it's very similar to all the other restaurants. Like if you took me and I was like, man, I really want to make Magic the Gathering store. And someone's like, you got to make a restaurant. And I was like, well, I want to combine what I know, which is magic, with this restaurant idea, and maybe I come up with something very unique that works, or maybe I fail epically because I don't.
But it was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you pitch to Netflix?
Yeah, because we have at least 3 good ideas right here.
Yeah.
Netflix. Or Amazon. Or
Amazon put $1 billion into the Lord of the Rings series. There's a Lord of the Rings, like, sort of like Game of Thrones series coming out that Amazon's doing, and they've poured millions in, and now it's reaching up to the $1 billion.
Does Netflix do podcasts?
You mean like live streaming?
Yeah.
I don't think it matches with how they physically distribute content, because it's not while it's a streaming service, they have the way that sort of streaming service works is they have physical copies located places, so that so many people can stream so much that I think Twitch, where it's anyone can stream it, you only ever have a few thousand concurrent users. I don't know that they have the infrastructure for the amount of people that subscribe to Netflix that would ever watch something live streamed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess so.
So like if you put Harry Potter the movie on Netflix, it's actually physically located in a whole bunch of different servers very close to people, because 1/3 of the internet traffic is Netflix. It's something insane.
So I also wish, maybe kind of as part of this show, because I like people like
okay, have you ever seen one of those Japanese game shows where they have the 2 hosts and they're just yelling at all the contestants the whole time? I want to be that for these businesses, because initially in my mind it was very calm, like, hey, this is our restaurant, come in and you tour it, and it's kind of like an MTV Cribs.
Oh, hang on. On your note.
Yeah.
So we let them get up and started.
Yeah.
But each episode, maybe not the first couple of episodes, but starting with, say, like episode 3 of 6 or 3 of 5, is us introducing some sort of
stress test.
Yeah.
So, Kitchen Nightmares did it. It's a winning combination of like, hey, we have this great idea, now let's test it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, hey, I have my Magic the Gathering restaurant. I have 500 nerds show up who want to eat and play Magic the Gathering. Can you make it happen?
Yeah. So I also like the same.
And I love commentary. I love it when people are just on other people for doing a bad idea.
And then I think that. So the restaurant or the bar.
Yeah.
Like restaurant versus restaurant would be good. Bar versus bar would be good. Mm-hmm. I think car wash could be a thing, or like but I think another thing that would be interesting is like, hey, this business needs this thing delivered, or like this piece of equipment delivered to this place by this date. How are you going to do it? Or like, hey, this business needs this building built by this date. You need to come through with him. Or these people, this rich person wants to go on this trip for a week. Mm-hmm. How are you,
So Amazon needs a new corporate building. 2 people or 2 groups are in charge of building 2 different buildings.
Yeah.
The winner, Amazon moves in.
The loser demolished.
Oh man, the amount of capital you would need to do that would be amazing. But how great would it be if at the end somebody just pushes the plunger down and it's gone?
And that's how you figure out who they build them right next to each other.
Yeah.
You don't know who's won and lost until they push the plunger down.
Oh, and
then the building comes down.
Obliterate.
Yeah.
Oh, and no one would know until the last episode, and then you would watch it and you go, "Holy!" And you wouldn't tell anybody, but you're like, "You need to watch this from start to finish. It's the greatest thing ever." And people would be like, "I don't know what's so great." They get to the last episode, like, "Oh no! Oh my god!" Like, get everybody on the phone. They need to. They blow it up.
So I think that would be hard to do, but would be cool. Another one would be,
how much does a building actually cost?
it doesn't have to be a huge building.
No.
You know, and maybe it's to scale. You know, it's like
Maybe you're building a very popular person's new mansion.
Yeah.
Right? It's $1 million, right? Your budget's $1 million. He's going to pick which one or she picks which one he likes, and the other one gets demolished. You're out $1 million, right? But I'm sure you can make that up in revenue.
I do like the idea of, because people also like home flipping and home stuff. So
Yeah.
maybe another series or season would be,
Please,
hey, this
we demolish the fixer-upper that is garbage.
yes.
I just want to see, here's your 3 homes. Do they choose the colonial?
No, but see, you have you have an investor or somebody who wants to buy a new home.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, this is my budget, or whatever. And that could all be faked for whatever for the show. But you guys have to go find me the house, sell me on the house. I'm not giving you I'm not telling you what I like, what I want. I want you guys to go out, find the house, furnish the house, remodel it however you want to do it. And then I pick whichever house I want. And then whichever house I don't get, best idea gets demolished, but maybe it just gets put on the market and sold because you don't want to lose that money. Maybe you can just CGI it getting demolished. I don't know. But
Maybe they push the plunger, nothing happens, but then a bulldozer just runs over the house.
yeah, I don't know. But
You know what would be real cheap? Tiny homes where you just throw it off a cliff if they don't like it. Like they're all on an incline.
ooh, what about like a Kitchen Nightmares or a Bar Rescue?
Yeah.
But instead of having like Gordon Ramsay or the person who does Bar Rescue, I can't think of his name, instead of having those, you just have people who want to be business owners, and they're like, hey, because how many times have you gone to a business? And actually, this is, I think, this I think is the perfect what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But it's like the perfect way to do it. How many times have you walked into a business and thought to yourself, how the hell did that person end up owning this, and how are they still in business? How have I not, like, if that person can do it, how have I not been able to do this?
Here's my pitch based on
it's half the restaurants or bars
So if
go
you
to.
were to give him a suggestion, what if he had to follow it?
No, exactly.
So you have a restaurant, and they were like, hey, you need more seating. So the episode is, you then have to add more seating. And if someone's like, hey, you need to have strippers, they have to then have strippers in the restaurant.
So what my idea is,
until you get the next recommendation that changes it.
so my idea is kind of that, but it's for people who don't own businesses, but they're entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
In some way, instead of just giving them like hey, here's a restaurant to blah, blah, blah. They're like, here's a restaurant that's owned by this idiot you think's an idiot, but like, let's see if you can really actually do better. Because there'd be a lot of people who would crash and burn.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I think I can run a business, when really they can't run a business. But so it's like,
have you seen that show
Nailed
It?
That's the problem with like Bar Rescue and like Kitchen. They always actually fix the restaurants and the bars at the end. And this one, you'd have ones where it was like, no, turns out you're actually really bad at this.
Yes.
So we're just going to give it back to the original owner. And
it's like that show Nailed It on Netflix, where they're like, yeah, we're cooks, we cook for our families, and then they're like, oh, make this like designer cake, and it does not go well.
Yeah.
It's just like the restaurant's on fire. Maybe they demolish it.
Because I mean, that was similar to what The Apprentice was, right? Like it was just people who were either famous or entrepreneurs or something trying to prove that they would be good business owners.
I would love to see an episode of a show where they take people like Mark Cuban or other sharks and have them do The Apprentice.
I think they did that.
Oh, did they? I gotta watch this episode.
Yeah, because there was apprentice shows that were like Celebrity Apprentice, but had like business owners and stuff like that. Like people who were very successful.
Yeah. I'd like to see billionaires work. You know what I'm saying? We got some good stuff. Like, we need to be on the phone with people.
All right,
with
hang
show
on.
ideas.
Hang on.
Is being
hang
very
on.
creative.
Hang on.
With little.
Hang on. What if you had a show that was like two guys, and they just talked about business ideas that they wanted to start?
So you joke, but Epic Mealtime got a show, and it was not great. So they did a bunch of YouTube videos, got millions of views for making like over the top.
Yeah, I
foods,
remember.
And then they got a show on Bravo, Esquire. That's a channel, and they had like a season, and it didn't go as well as you might hope.
Hang on. Thank you for listening to our show. To participate, send your comments or business ideas to thehangonpodcast@gmail.com. Keep us motivated by subscribing to us on YouTube and iTunes. And tell a friend. This is the Hang On Podcast. It was an honor. See you next week.